All right, so for today, we will be doing our grade 1 lesson on action verbs. So we will be doing our grade 1 lesson, a grade 1 English lesson on action verbs. And the lessons that we are going to be focusing on under the chapter of action verbs is to complete the sentence with a verb to match the picture. We're going to identify action verbs and we're going to use action verbs. And before we do our lessons, right, we are going to log into aplusstudents.ca. So it's on aplusstudents.ca, that is where we're going to be doing our tutorial lessons. So we'll be going to aplusstudents.ca. We're going to log in with our username as well as our password. And then we're going to select language arts, grade 1. And then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of action verbs. And like we said, under action verbs, the chapter action verbs, we'll be doing the lessons of to complete the sentence with a verb to match the picture. We're going to identify action verbs and we're going to use action verbs. All right. So when it comes to action verbs, right? So a verb, it tells you what a person, animal, or thing does, right? So basically, a verb is a doing word. So we can then say that a verb is a doing word. Right? It shows action. So of course it has to show action. It shows the action that the person, animal, or thing does, right? So even the fact that you are listening, right? So listening is basically a verb because you are doing something, right? If you are currently typing, right? Then maybe typing can also be a verb. If you are writing something down, then writing is a verb. It's something that you're doing. If you are reading from your screen, then reading is also an action verb or it's a verb, right? So it is something that you are doing, right? That is why we're saying that a verb, it tells what a person, animal, or thing does. It is a doing word and it also shows action. So it shows action that the subject, which is the person, animal, or thing, does. And if we can also look at a few more action verbs, right? If you look at the picture here in front of you, so walk, right? Walk is an action verb. Run, to stand, to cry, right? It's something that you're doing. Like if you're emotional, if you're sad, then this person is crying, cry. Read is an action verb. It's something that they're doing. Laugh, play, ride, think, and jump. So that is but a few examples of action verbs. And remember, we see that action verbs or verbs, it tells you what a person, animal, or thing does. And once again, a verb or an action verb, it's a doing word, right? It's something that someone is doing. It shows the action the person is doing, right? It shows the action that the animal is doing, or it shows the action of the thing. All right, so now we're going to our tutorial lesson. So we're going to aplusstudents.ca. So you're going to aplusstudents.ca. Remember, we said that our chapter is action verbs. And the first lesson that we're going to be doing is to complete the sentence with a verb to match the picture. All right, so if we look at this picture, right, what do you think the cows are doing? What do you think the cows are doing? We need to show the action that the cows are doing. Remember, we said that a verb, it basically shows what an animal, person, or thing does. So, what are the cows doing? The cows. So, if we're looking at the cows, then we can say that the cows sleeps, right? So, the cows, they sleep or sleeps, right? Because they're sleeping or snoozing, right? So, that is what they are doing. They are sleeping because that is an action that they are doing. Yes, they sleep. Beautiful. So, the cows, they sleep or sleeps. If you look at what these two boys are doing, what are the two boys doing? The boys, some cake. They want some cake. The action that they are doing. They want some cake. So if we look at the picture, right, then it shows that the boys, some cake. Yes, so if we can say the boys, they eat some cake. Eat or eating, that is correct because they are doing the action. So we can either say eat or we can say eating, right? But either way, eat or eating, that is showing the action. So the boys eat some cake or eating. So well done. If we look at the king, what is the king doing? He's putting his hand over his ear. If he's putting his hand over his ear because he wants to whatever that somebody's saying, the king something. Maybe it is a buzz, maybe it is whispering. So the king something. Yes. So we can then say that the king hears something. So hearing or he hears something. So hearing or hears something. So well done, well done. So the king hears something. He is hearing something or he hears something. So it's the same as saying that I am listening, right? So I hear something, but if somebody's maybe talking to you, and then you can say that I am listening. So well done, right? So that is but a few examples. And remember, we said a verb, it tells you what a person, animal, or thing does. And there are two more examples. The cat jumps, right? The cat jumps. So what did the cat do? It jumps, right? So jumps is our verb. We play. What do we do? Play. And that is our two verbs, right? Jumps and plays. Those are verbs. It's action verbs. It shows action. It shows things that somebody or something or an animal or thing is doing. All right, let's go to our test. We need to complete the sentence to match the picture. Brad and Sarah. What is Brad and Sarah doing? Do they play? Do they cry? Do they skip or do they jump? What is Brad and Sarah doing in the picture? There we see toys. Brad has a car and Sarah has some little toys or dolls. Do they play, cry, skip, or jump? What are they doing? Because remember, it's a doing word, it's an action, something that they're doing. So Brad and Sarah, they play, they cry, skip, or they jump based on the picture that we can see in front of us. All right, so if we choose the action verb that they are doing, then we can say Brad and Sarah, they play. Yes, so they play. Well done. So if you said play, then good job. Excellent. All right, so now if we look at the picture that we see in front of us, Nate and Gabby, an airplane. So there's an airplane in the sky. Do they take the airplane? They see an airplane, they shout an airplane, or they touch the airplane that is up in the sky. Nate and Gabby. What is the action? What is something that they are doing? So they take an airplane, they see an airplane, shout an airplane, or touch an airplane. So if we look at the picture, Nate and Gabby, they are looking up, right? So which means that they see an airplane because they're not taking the airplane, right? They're not shouting because they're not even showing that, they are shouting. They're not touching the airplane, but they see the airplane. So if you said see, then well done, well done. The girl, what is the girl doing? She's standing behind the tree. So she wants us to be quiet. Does she nap while she's standing behind the tree? Does she hide or is she hiding? Hides. Sings or draws. What is the girl doing? She naps, she hides, she sings or draws. What is the girl doing? So she's standing behind the tree. She don't want somebody to see her. So does she nap? hides, sings, or draws. So the girl, if we look at the picture once again, then it looks like she's hiding from someone. So the girl hides. So if you said hides, then well done, well done. He wants a bike. If you have a bike, then what do you do with the bike? Do you draw a bike? Do we ride a bike? Do we sleep a bike? Or do we buy a bike? If we look at the picture, what is he doing with the bike? Or what is he doing on the bike? He draws a bike, he rides a bike, he sleeps a bike, or he buys a bike. What is he doing with the bike? So the action that we do on a bike, right? When we have a bike or bicycle, right? We ride a bike. So we can say that he rides a bike because he doesn't have anything in his hand to draw the bike. He's definitely not sleeping and he's not at the shop to buy the bike. So he rides the bike. So if you said rides, then well done. Rides is correct. All right. So now we're going to identify the action verbs, right? We're going to identify the action verbs within a sentence, right? And remember, we said a verb, it tells what a person, animal, or thing does, right? So the verb, it tells what the person, animal, or thing does, shows the action that the person, animal, or thing does. It's a doing word, like for example, jumps or plays, right? So now, if we look at the first sentence, we need to find the verb. The car stops. What is the verb within that sentence? The car stops. The verb, action that is taking place. So we need to show the action within that sentence. So the car stops. So if we look at the verb within that sentence, and then we can say stops, right? Because the car is the thing, and stops is the action that the car does. So stops is our verb, right? So we underlined the word stops, and that shows the action or the verb that is taking place. The babies sleep. The babies sleep. What is the verb within that sentence? The babies sleep. We need to find the verb. The babies sleep. We need to find the verb within that sentence. So if we have to find the action or the verb within the sentence, then we can say sleep. Because the babies, it's like we say it's the subject or it's the noun or it is the person that's doing the action. And the action is that they sleep, right? So sleep is the verb. So the verb is sleep. It tells us what the babies are doing. So the babies, they sleep. Miss Lynn buys two dresses. Miss Lynn buys two dresses. We need to find the verb within the sentence. We need to identify the verb within the sentence. So if we identify the verb within that sentence, we can say buys, right? Because it's something that Miss Lynn is doing, right? She buys. And how many dresses did she buy? She bought two dresses, right? So buys is the verb or the action that Miss Lynn or Mrs. Lynn did or does, right? Because she buys two dresses. So buys is our verb. All right, so now we're going on to our test. We need to find the verb in the sentence. The balloon pops. The balloon pops. So we need to find, if we look at that sentence, we need to identify the verb. Is it the, is it balloon, or is it pops? We need to choose the correct one. So the, balloon, or pops. We need to find the verb within that sentence. So the balloon pops. We need to find the verb, the action within that sentence. The balloon pops. Is it the, is it balloon, or is it pops? That's the verb. It's the action, something that is happening. So if we identify the verb within that sentence, then we can say pops, right? Because pop tells us what the balloon does, right? So it pops. So pops is our verb. So pops is our verb. The car stops. The car stops. We need to find the verb. Is it the car stops? We need to find the verb within that sentence. The car stops. Is it the car, or is it stops? You need to find the verb. And if we identify the verb, then we can say stops. Because stops, it tells us what the car does. Right? So stops, it tells us what the car does. So the car stops. The babies sleep. The babies sleep. We need to find the verb. The babies sleep. Is it the babies, or sleep? So the babies sleep. We need to find the verb within the sentence. Is it the babies, or sleep? All right, so if we need to find the verb, then we will say sleep. Because sleep, it tells us what the babies are doing. Sleeps, they tell us what the babies are doing. The babies, they sleep. They are napping. The babies, they sleep. So sleep is the verb. It shows the action that the babies are doing. And the children play. The children play. We need to find the verb. The children play. Is it the children or play? So the children play. And if we look at our sentence, and then we will identify play. Because play shows what the children are doing. So what are the children doing? The children play. They either play with toys, they play with the rope, they're playing outside, play with the ball, play with dolls, but the children play. And play tells us what the children are doing. Remember, we said a verb is a doing word. All right. And lastly, the bees fly. The bees fly. We need to find the verb. The bees fly. And if we identify the action verb, is it is it bees or fly? We need to identify the verb. Then we can say fly. Because what are the bees doing? The bees, they fly. What are the bees doing? They fly. So the bees fly. So fly is our verb. It shows the action, it shows what the bees are doing. All right, and lastly, we're going to use the action verbs, right? So we've identified action verbs. So now we're going to use the action verbs. All right, so the king at the story. So if you are telling the king a story, specifically if you're telling the king a funny story, what do you think the king will be doing? Right? So can we say that the king laughs at the story? Or can we say that the king is at the story? Which one is the correct verb? The king laughs at the story or is at the story? So if we basically look at these two words, then we can just say that the king laughs at the story because now the story is being funny, right? Somebody is cracking a joke and they're telling a nice comedy joke story. So the king laughs at the story. The car walked on the streets. So the car is driving in the car, and now we get to the specific street, and there's a traffic light. Then what must the car do? The car stops on the street. So then it stops on the street, or when it's about to park, and then we say the car stops on the street. So stops is our verb. So stops is our verb that we added to complete the sentence. So stops, the car stops on the streets. We loud noises. So outside or wherever, there are very loud noises, and we can it with our ears. You can what it with your ears. We what a loud noise. All right, so when it comes to loud noises, then we can say we hear a loud noise. So you can maybe hear loud noise from a distance, right? We don't see anybody, but we hear a loud noise. So hear a loud noise. So hear is our verb. All right. All right, so we're going to our test. Tim and Jill, they guess the answer or they happy the answer. What is the correct verb? Tim and Jill guess the answer or they happy the answer. We need to find the correct verb. Guess or happy. So if the teacher asks you a question and you maybe don't directly know the answer, but you are going to what the answer? Do you guess the answer or do you happy the answer? So if they are unsure, then we can say they guess the answer. So Tim and Jill guess the answer. All right. The teacher story a book or the teacher reads a book? What is the teacher doing with the book? Does she story a book or does she reads a book? What is the teacher doing? She stories a book or she reads a book? All right, so we can then say the teacher reads a book. Because remember, we can say a teacher reads a storybook. So she reads a book. It's the verb, it's the action that the teacher is doing. She reads a book. The king book at the story or the king laughs at the story. What is the king doing? What is the verb in the sentence? The king book at the story or the king laughs at the story because the story is funny. So if the story is funny, does the king book at the story or does the king laughs at the story? What is the king doing? It's the action that the king does. All right, so then we can say the king laughs at the story because the story is funny. All right, so laughs is correct. So laughs. She what's a funny noise outside her room? Does she hum a funny noise outside her room? Or does she hears a funny noise outside her room? We need to complete the sentence with the correct verb. Is it home or yes? She home a funny noise outside her room or she hears a funny noise outside her room? All right, so basically, if when it comes to noises, then we can say we hear noises. So she hears a funny noise outside her room. All right, so that is but a few verbs or action verbs, like we would say, right? And remember that we said that a verb it tells what a person, animal, or thing does. It's the action that the person, animal, or thing does. And we gave a few examples of verbs, just like walk, run, read, laugh, think, jump, and so on. So if we look at these sentences, right, we need to match the picture with the action verb. So basically, these are the action verbs. I can kick. So kick, if we match I can kick the sentence with the picture, right? What is the what picture can we match the sentence with? So if we can say I can kick, then it is the bottom picture because it shows a boy kicking a ball. If we say I can jump, then yeah, the girl with the little red, she is hopping, skipping, and jumping. And read is what the mommy is doing with the baby. And then I can brush. So that is us matching the action verbs, which is the sentence, with the correct pictures. All right, so now if we look at this picture, right, there's the word rip, trip, sit, cry, run, or sleep. We need to basically write these words within the box under each correct picture. So if we look at the first picture, the girl is sad, right? Tears are rolling from her face. What is she doing? Does she rip? Does she trip? Sit, cry, run, or sleep? What is she doing? She's sad. So we need to say what she's doing. She's sad. Tears are rolling down her face. What is she doing? What is the action that's taking place? So we can then basically say that she cries because she's sad, right? So she cries. Then if we look at the next picture, the boy, what does he do? So what is he doing? Does he rip, trip, sit, run, or sleep? What is he doing? He's on a chair. What is he doing on the chair? So we can then say that the boy sit on the chair. So he sit on the chair. The next one, the girl is in bed. She's taking a nap. Another word for nap is what? Is it rip, trip, run, or sleep? It is bedtime, and the girl is about to. What is she about to do? Because she needs to get up early in the morning. So we can then say that she's asleep. So it shows what the girl is doing. She sleeps. And then if you look at the next picture over here, does she rip, trip, or does she run? What is she doing? We need to show the action. What is she doing? Rip, trip, or run? So this girl is living an active life, right? So we can say that she ran. She runs to stay fit and to stay active. And in the boy, he did not see the stone. So he walked over the stone. Does he rip or does he trip over the stone? All right, so basically he trips over the stone. So he tripped and he almost fell. And then the last one is when you're tearing a page, and then we can say he rips the page. So rip is or tearing the page. That is the verb. It is the action verb. It is the action that is taking place. All right, so well done to that. All right, so now we are going to look at the different sentences, right? You are going to identify the verb within that sentence, and then I will write down the verb on the one side. So he is hopping like a rabbit. He is hopping like a rabbit. What is the verb within that sentence? What is he doing? He is hopping like a rabbit. We need to give the verb the action that is taking place within that sentence. So if we identify the action, right, that's taking place within that sentence, he's walking like a rabbit, then we can say he's hopping like a rabbit. So hopping is our verb. Hopping, because he's hopping up and down like a rabbit. Kate is drinking water. Kate is drinking water. What is Kate doing? So what is Kate doing? Right? So we can say she's drinking. She's drinking water. So drinking, that is what Kate is doing. I am eating an apple. What are you doing with that apple? So what is that person doing with the apple? So we can say the person is eating the apple. The person is eating the apple. And I am singing my favorite song. I am singing my favorite song. What are you doing? All right. I know this is your favorite song, but what are you doing? So we can say that this person says that I'm singing my favorite song. And they are studying together. What are they doing before the test? So they are studying. Shows what they are doing before the test. They are studying together. All right, so basically that is our lesson on action verbs. And we see the verb tells you what the person, animal, or thing does, right? And we went over a few lessons as well as examples on action verbs or verbs, right? Or what they are. And remember, we said that verbs are doing words. It's things that they are doing, something that you are doing, something that the person, animal, or thing is doing. All right, so that is now the end of our lesson for on action verbs, right? So thank you very much, grade ones, for joining the class. And thank you very much for being interactive, all right? You should have a good day further. Goodbye.